Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Charles Dick with your Monday morning coffee. Listen, I hope you had a great weekend, and I hope that you are really taking good care of yourself because self-care is so important to your overall mental health, emotional health, physical, spiritual, everything. It is so important. But you look at things that go on in people's lives. You look at sports and everybody talk about the Colorado Buffaloes and Deion Sanders. Sorry, Alabama, but a lot of us are not talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide lately. Isn't it amazing that Deion Sanders is dominating not only look at the football world, but the media itself and his sons and everybody what's going on in Colorado. But throughout life, sometimes those are pivotal points that changes people's life. But I ask myself, what is it about this one person is making a difference in this entire football team, this entire university? What is the one thing that you look at in people's lives that really change everything? It doesn't matter where they were born. It doesn't matter where they grew up. It doesn't matter their income level, but they have something that most of us may lack in our life. And that I think it is, and this is my personal opinion, that I think Deion had a sense of urgency to bring the Colorado Buffaloes up immediately, not waiting 2 or 3 years down the road. So he knew he had to have a strategy in doing so. But he created a culture of urgency. And if you look around you, there's a lot of times we put things off. We are procrastinators. We got some unfinished business in so many areas of our life, and we don't create a sense of urgency. Think about it for a minute. He's not waiting 5 or 10 years down the road to pack the stadiums and do everything he's doing. He has created a culture of urgency. This is totally my opinion about this. And so when you ask yourself the question, how do you create a sense of urgency in your own life? Because we cannot be time wasters. And this is one thing I said to my son, I said to anybody who's listening, that the key thing about Satan, the devil knows us one thing, and I'm just using a spiritual point of reference here, is because he knows that God can't give us more time. He's not going to give the people who say they believe in God, he's going to give them 25 hours in a day and get other ones like 20 hours in a day. No, he understands the key thing is God is not going to change the season. He's not going to change the time. That is embedded in him. But how do you create a sense of urgency is that you got to get away from time wasters and time wasting. You got to stop wasting time because you won't get it back. You will not get yesterday back. You will not get the weekend back. It is over with. Even if you want to, you can't get it back. So you got to be, if you're going to create a sense of urgency, the first thing I think is you got to get rid of the time wasters. The time wasters can anywhere be from television, from people, from cell phones, even listen to YouTubes and all these different videos, and you spend too much time on them because you don't have a sense of urgency because you don't really know what you want in your life. And if you don't know what you want in your life, anything will do. If you don't know where you're going in your life, any direction will be just fine because it's not crystal clear to you and what you want in life. And I think Deion Sanders, just as much as anybody else, has created a culture of urgency. Now, here's the thing. So that culture has to be focused. Now, you can't be in a culture that everybody focus here and there. The culture has to be focused on what is it that we want to achieve? What is it that we really want? Now, if you sit down for a moment and ask yourself the question, what is it that you really want? Not what other people want for you, but what is it that you want? Spend some time asking yourself the question, what do you want? So if there's a certain thing you want, you got to ask yourself, what are you doing to get what you want? And if this is what you want and you're doing something else, it may tell you really don't want it, that you have not created a sense of urgency to go after it. Now, I know you're going to have some stumbling blocks. I know you're going to have some opposition. I know you're going to have some haters, but that's part of the game. It's just part of the game. And you see that with Deion. You got haters, you got people got people who are not doing anything. You don't even hear anything about Nick Saban because you don't even hear anything about Alabama. You don't hear anything else because he's dominating the media. Why? He has created a sense of urgency because they know what they want. The second thing is you have to establish a reason for the urgency. The reason for the urgency. Think about this. What is the reason once you want to be urgent? Because the key thing is, what is the benefit of doing some things? Because I know in my life, I got some unfinished business. I got some writings I need to finish. And I said this past weekend, I was going to create a sense of urgency to get it done. But you gotta have such a reason that you become obsessed with it, that you want to get it done. You want to achieve these things because there is a reward that comes when you accomplish things. I mean, look what's going on with Deion Sanders. And I can't tell you enough. Look what's going on with the Colorado Buffaloes. Look what's going on in that university. I can imagine the vibes in that school right now. But think about it. You got to establish a reason for urgency. The third thing is you got to establish positive outcomes, and you got to be willing to work towards them. You got to establish positive outcomes. Now listen, for you to establish positive outcomes, you got to monitor what your thoughts are. Because if you're thinking too much about it and not doing anything, that thought has trapped you. You got to become a doer. You get just like Nike, so just do it. You got to become a doer. If you're going to have a sense of urgency, you got to have this mindset to do it. Just get up and do it. Stop waiting for the right time. Stop waiting for the right money to come in. Stop waiting. Create this urgency and get up and say, I'm going to get the outcomes I want. Now, let me be mindful of something, that sometimes you might need to hire somebody to come alongside of you to push you to that next level, to move your needle. But you got to create this sense of urgency. You got to know the outcomes you want. This is what I want to accomplish today, and it's creating a sense of urgency. The fourth thing is you got to act with intentions. You have to have the intentionalities to move forward. There's a thing about Wayne Dyer's talk about the power of intentions. You got to act on, you got to know, and you got to have this behavior. You got to model this behavior that you are really intentional about achieving what you want. Stop waiting for the right person to come alongside of you. Be intentional about what you want. I had to go back to Malcolm X quote, that which you don't hate, eventually you'll tolerate. If you don't hate it, you'll tolerate. If you don't hate your lifestyle, you're going to tolerate. If you don't hate your weight, you're going to tolerate. If you don't hate your finances, you're going to continue to tolerate it. Because if you want to do anything with your life, you got to stop tolerating giving yourself excuses, because excuses are designed to make you feel good about yourself. You got to act with intentions. You got to be so motivated that you're not waiting for some extrinsic thing or some external thing to motivate you. You have this internal motivation within yourself, and you're creating a sense of urgency to get it done. You gotta create this sense of urgency. You got to stop waiting, stop putting off, stop procrastinating, stop putting off. You got to have this sense of urgency about yourself, and you got to act with intentionality. And then here's the thing. Here's the other thing. The fifth thing is learn to celebrate your progress. I mean, if you write it, you're writing like you got writer block, and you say you start writing, you wrote a page. Celebrate that. Find a way to celebrate. But here's the key thing. Be careful what you celebrate. Don't celebrate it too long. Because most people end up celebrating. Like, you guarantee you, the Colorado Buffaloes, yeah, they won Saturday. You think they sitting around celebrating, or do you think they preparing for Saturday? You can't celebrate too long, because that's the difference. And when I read this book about being game changers and understand being unstoppable, the key thing about a playmaker, they celebrate that victory. But a game changer is always preparing for the next one. And that's what he's doing. Deion has become a game changer in Colorado. And you could do the same thing in your life. But you can't celebrate too long. Hey, we won. Let's get ready for the next one. And that becomes so important that you see this, but you got to get out of the mindset to get stuck in the celebration, stuck in a level of success, and then you forgot to create a sense of urgency to get to the next one. The sixth thing is, let me give you the sixth thing. Sixth thing is set goals that's going to stretch you. that's going to challenge you. Even when you talk about mindset, you think about a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. A growth mindset, really find people who are going to challenge them and stretch them, not keep you bouncing back and bouncing back like a rubber band, but that's going to stretch you and stretch you some more. Guarantee you, not only the Colorado Buffaloes is being stretched, other football teams right now are being stretched to be better prepared when they go to the game, all because you see one person is making a difference. But you got to have goals that are going to stretch you, not keep you in bed, not just keep you before the TV, not keep you on the cell phone. You got to have some goals that's going to stretch you, that's going to get you up at 4 o'clock in the morning, can keep you up at late at night, because you are stretching yourself. You're getting out of these comfort zones that you have built for yourself, or you have allowed other people to build for you. Man, I'm going to tell you something. You got to learn to stretch yourself. You got to get away from this mindset of finding yourself complaining, finding yourself assigning blame, and finding yourself making excuses. You cannot stretch yourself if you're the person that's always complaining, always griping. You cannot be the person that's always assigning blame to someone else. You are where you are because of the choices you have made. Stop assigning blame to that man, to that woman, to that parents. If my parents would have, you're a grown person now, and you still assigning blame to your parents? Wake up. You are in charge of your future. You make the choices to stay where you are. Or you're the person that's always making excuses for the choices you make. Stop assigning the blame and complaining and making excuses, because you're just trying to make yourself feel good. But are you? Are you any better today than you were yesterday? And that becomes so important. Now, here's the seventh thing. Set clear deadlines. Like by the end of September, I want to see this done. Set clear deadlines. Make a sense of urgency. Do not compromise it. Do not find substitute. Do not option for plan B. Stick with plan A. And let's give this credit to Steve Harvey when he said this. Put all your energy. If you put all your energy toward plan A, you'll have time to put energy towards plan B and make plan A work. It can work if you were willing to create a sense of urgency, put all your energy and effort behind plan A. Set yourself some deadlines. I even love the 12-week program, that you can get more out of a year if you learn in the next 12 weeks what you're going to do with it. Set yourself some deadlines. Don't wait till the end of the year and say, my deadline was lose 10 pounds this year, and you haven't made any effort. Because you're setting deadline, you got to put forth effort. You got to put forth effort. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to get out your mind. Somebody going to be knocking on your door tomorrow and say, here it is. No one's knocking on your door. You got to start being proactive and knock on other people's doors. But you got to set some deadlines. And here's the eighth thing. Create some check-in moments. Create some moments that you can check in. That's why I believe if having a life coach, having an abundant life coach, having someone strategically walk alongside of you and invest in you. Stop investing in everybody else and you don't invest in yourself. Invest in you. And by doing so, having these check-ins, by having a coach that come alongside of you, check in once a week. How you doing? What got in your way? Certain questions. What was your goals this year? And then be committed to that. Create a sense of urgency to stay with it. Have that stick-to-it-ness. Have that commitment that you're going to stick with it. Regardless of what's going on, that you say, I am going to stick with this. And let me give you the ninth thing. Find yourself the right support. You know, people say it takes a village to raise them. My question is, who's in your village? You got to have right support. You got to have people alongside of you who can encourage you and say, you can do this. I'll be one of your encouragers. I'll tell you today, you can do this. Set your mind to do this, and you can do this. You can get it done. You know what you want? You got to look at what you're doing. What are you doing? Then if you're not doing what you want to do to get what you want to, you look at yourself, say, hey, this is not what I do. So now you start revising, you start making revision, and you say, wait, you know what? Instead of spending this time doing this, I'm gonna spend this time doing that. Make some revision, have you some plans, and create a strategy in carrying out your plan. So Monday, I'm gonna do this. Tuesday, I'm gonna get Wednesday night, I'm gonna get these things done. Because a lot of times, everything, you can have plans, we gotta have a strategy for carrying them out. Now, let me give you this other thing. So here's the 10th thing. Prioritize everything. Because you gotta know what matters to you. Sit there long enough and prioritize everything. Because it matters to you. If it doesn't matter to you, you won't get it done. It would not work for you. It has to matter to you before it matters to someone else. It has to matter to you. It has to be important to you. It has to be a priority to you before it's a priority to someone else. And I know today my Monday morning coffee is longer than it's normal, but I want to tell you it created a sense of urgency in me this past weekend about a project my wife has going on, and it created a sense of urgency to me. So I want to kind of back away from everything and kind of sit there and look at myself and ask myself, is it really important to me to get it done? Does it really matter to me to get this project done? Let me tell you something, it does. And I'm putting my energy and effort in getting it done. But let me give you the 11th thing. You got to create a follow-up. See, follow-up and follow-through is so important. Follow up on it. Like today, whatever Monday is, follow up today, follow up tomorrow. Create a follow-up. And then let me give you the last one. The 12th thing is this. If you miss a deadline, don't beat yourself up over it. If you miss a deadline, don't punish yourself, because that's not going to help you. What you do, you shake it off, go back at it again. Because a lot of times when people miss deadline, they just quit. They just throw it in the towel and quit. No, you're not going to beat yourself up because you missed the deadline. You're going to create another deadline. You're going to go back and create this sense of urgency, walk through these steps I have given you, and you can overcome this. But when you miss a deadline, please don't beat yourself up, because your best days are before you, not behind you. And I want to tell you something. I pray, my prayers today, if you're really serious about this, create a sense of urgency in your life. Whether you're a parent, whether you're an employee, whether you're a child, whoever you are, you're a teenager, whoever you are, if you create a sense of urgency in you right now, you have more outcomes happen in your life than any time before. But you got to create this sense of urgency within you. Hey, this is Dr. Charles Dent with your Monday morning coffee.